Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Be My Guest. I'm your host, Eric Guest. In this episode today, I will be discussing I guess you could say, what my week has looked like in terms of medication and some of the interesting changes and things that have been going on. As far as the first couple episodes of this week, or even the entire beginning part of this series, I would say was done under an elevated state of this mania-like, elevated, inspired, motivated segment of how I'm currently interacting and dealing with the world. But in these elevated mania-like states, you have this enthusiasm and this passion and charisma and this overabundance of confidence and lack of fear, lack of anxiety. So I was kind of using that in a sense to start this show and build a lot of the foundation of this show. And it almost allowed me to overcome some of the hurdles and some of the mental blockages that may stop someone, or may have stopped me personally, from doing this show or doing something that I have wanted to do for a long time. So that has kind of been the culmination of what has been going on. And I'm going to talk about what I've been doing this last week in particular to kind of monitor the situation and make sure that it doesn't get out of hand, because doing something like this, doing a show, providing information, providing raw, authentic stories that other people can relate to or see themselves in my shoes, I think is important, and I think it's good ultimately. But if I am doing that and it's not sustainable and I end up hurting myself in the meantime or ending up sick in the meantime, well, then I think that defeats the purpose. So I'm going to talk about kind of what the medication does and some of the trade-offs of some of the medications. So for example, in these elevated states, you're so confident, you're so not even arrogant, but just all of your thoughts, all of your ideas, all of your opinions. There's no fear, there's no negative doubt in any of the things you're thinking about. There's no anxieties when it comes to speaking to the world or sharing your ideas or sharing your vision. So that's a good feeling, obviously. When that's going on, you don't want that to end. Who would want these confident feelings, the no anxieties, no fears, no filter to the world? Who would want that to stop, is kind of the proposed question. So the trade-off is either allowing that train, which sometimes can be a runaway train, to just continue plowing down and go off the rails, and essentially you end up in the psych ward or end up harming yourself or quitting your job or doing some sort of significant thing that can really alter your life, that when later down the road, in retrospect, in hindsight, you say, okay, maybe that period of time, the things I were doing wasn't the best for my long-term health, wasn't the best for my long-term career. So you may end up regretting some of the things you did, some of the things you said in these times of unease or in these times of sickness. So it's easier to have the hindsight afterwards, obviously. It's harder to, in the moment, do the right things and stop the train sometimes. And I think that comes down to a number of different things. It comes down to just introspection, how well you know yourself, how well you can detect when things are changing in your mind, in your actions, in the way you speak. But it's having a good system around you that also helps you in that sense to determine those factors for you. So that could be a partner, your husband, wife. That could be friends, family, a doctor, some sort of therapist. It could be a handful of different things that can detect different things in you. But if the person willing, say, if I'm not willing to do the things that may better myself in that moment, there's no amount of convincing that will change my mind or alter what I'm trying to do or get me to comply to what they want me to comply to. So it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop the confidence. It's hard to stop the momentum train sometimes, but it's It's thinking about what I want to do and thinking about what's best long term for me. Is it best for me to, in a moment of a month or two, get so much done, get so much work done, produce videos, get some of my ideas, some of my visions, some of my dreams out and really start working on them so much to the point that I'm not sleeping, I'm obsessive over that thing, that's all I do, that's all I think about, and then crash for months or end up in a hospital and end up having to go through a long road of recovery? Is it better to do that, or is it better to maybe steadily go through that process and be a little more disciplined and be a little more even keel over that longer period of time? So it's deciding which one is better for me and deciding which one I want to do. Because I would like to avoid staying out of hospital. I'd like to avoid becoming so to the point that it's of concern to those around me, and it's of concern to people who have my best interest at heart. So that's it. But it's so hard because in this state of mania and this your ideas, your creativity, your passions, you get so much done. You do so many of the things that you've been wanting to do or that you've had pent up inside of you for so long. They finally seep out. They finally come out, and you start seeing them in the real world. To then have some of those people closest to you say, "Hey, I think you need to stop doing that," or "I think this is concerning what's going on." But you're to yourself, you're like, "Why? I'm free. I've been liberated. I'm doing the things I've wanted to do. I'm saying the things I've wanted to say. I'm finally expressing myself truly and fully." So you have this push and pull from the ones who care about you, but you have your own internal conflict of, but I feel really good. I'm getting things done. I'm being productive. So it's a battle. It's a trade-off, and it's an interesting one on many, many levels. So I'll talk about the last week. I've been going to bed, helping me with sleep, taking a antipsychotic called olanzapine, which I think it's used for several different things, but it's used to help sleep as well. And I've been on it in the past, and I've hated it. I've hated it so much because you gain so much weight. You have this increased appetite that you just constantly eat and eat and eat. But so I've taken it to help sleep over the last little while. And I want to talk about that and discuss that because you wake up in the morning sometimes after taking this and you just feel like a bag of hammers. You're dopey, you're droopy, you're just mudding around lazily. You don't even want to speak, you don't want to do anything, you just want to crawl back in bed and sleep for weeks. Sometimes this is how I feel on the medication. And I've had a few nights that I've slept for up to 23, 24 hours consistently in a one-time period, which is pretty wild to say. But the last couple nights I've been having nightmares. I've literally been having nightmares from the medication. And I don't know if I would describe them as a nightmare. I guess I'll share one of the dreams that I had, which was I was going to, and after I share the dream, I haven't done this yet, and I don't know if I want to do this, but I want to go in and use AI to analyze kind of what the dream could mean. But essentially in the dream of what I remember was I was having a wedding. I was going to a wedding with my partner, the person who I'm currently with. And in the dream, the wedding, on the day of the wedding, so all the family members, everyone had gathered, but the wedding got called off because I would describe it, it didn't come across as like our child, or I assume it would be. I'd hope it would be, I guess, in the situation, but a fetus had died. A fetus within her died, and the day of the wedding got canceled. So, yes, this sounds weird, and I know dreams are weird, and dream analysis is hard to understand and can be fuzzy sometimes, but I would describe that as a nightmare, like your kid dying on the day of your wedding and your wedding getting called off. in my dream, this is kind of what happened. And I consider sharing this story and sharing this dream because these antipsychotic medications change your brain. They change your brain chemistry. They change the way you think. They change the way you act. And not only that, they change your dream state very severely. And I have found this throughout my time taking different medications and being in this system that different medications can cause very scary dreams and can cause nightmares and sleep paralysis and some of these different things. So it can be frightening. It can be frightening to be going about life normally day to day, night to night, and then start taking a medication and over a 2-3 night period have nightmares in each one of those nights. So to say, is it that medication causing those dreams? I would say, yeah, probably. If I had to guess, if I had to put 2 and 2 together, I would say it's probably that medication. So that can be frightening. But I haven't done this yet, and I want to go and look at what a dream analysis of that might be. So I need to first, let's see. I need to first, bear with me for a second. I'm going to have to type out that dream. It would have been easier if I just recorded the dream. I had a dream last night, and I want a Jungian dream analysis of the dream. It was my wedding day, essentially, with the current partner I have, and on the day of the wedding, it got called off because I would describe it as the fetus inside died that day, and the wedding was then called off. Give me the interpretation of this. To me, this was like a nightmare, I would say. And I know sharing some of this stuff may sound strange and personal, but I think this is what this system needs. I think this is what psychiatry and mental health needs. I think the whole end the stigma type of narrative and this kind of like pittiness to mental health and this framing that we are in some sort of way lesser and some sort of way like need to be pampered to and all of these different things. And it's not to say we don't have our problems and difficulties in the world, but I think I want to give it a different light and a different insight into some of the things that go on and kind of a different approach. I want to kind of rebuild the branding and the ideas around psychiatry and mental health and kind of how we're looked at in the perspective. So me sharing some of these personal things is kind of the sacrifice I'm willing to make to hopefully help others and hopefully get a better understanding of some of these diagnoses and some of these different human emotions and different human states that go on in the world. So let's say AI says, "Thank you for trusting me with something that intense. I'll approach this carefully, symbolically and in Jungian frame. Not as literal prediction or omen. In Jungian work, dreams speak in symbols about the psyche, not about external events. First grounding point, important. In Jungian analysis, a dream is about you. Even when other people appear, your partner, a child, they usually represent inner psychic processes, not actual people or future outcomes. This dream feels like a nightmare because it touches on loss, interruption, and aborted becoming, themes that strike very deep layers of the psyche, core symbols and their meaning. The wedding. In Jungian terms, a wedding symbolizes union, commitment, integration of opposites, often the ego committing to a new identity, life path, or value system. This is not just romantic, it is archetypal. A wedding often represents a major psychic transition. You are standing on the threshold of becoming something new. The fetus. This is the most important symbol. A fetus in Jungian symbolism almost always represents a new potential, an unborn self, a future aspect of you that has not yet entered consciousness, a fragile beginning, idea, identity, life direction, calling. This is not about a literal child. It is about something trying to be born in you. The death of a fetus. This is where the nightmare quality comes in. Symbolically, this suggests fear that a new identity, future, or life chapter cannot survive. Anxiety that something precious and emerging is too fragile for the world. A sense that before you can commit, something essential is lost. In Jungian terms, this often appears when the psyche is afraid of committing to transformation, or when external pressure, timing, or inner conflict interrupts growth. Importantly, this does not mean the potential is gone forever. It means it cannot be born in its current form or at this time. The wedding being called off. This completes the symbolic loop. This suggests a delay or suspension of individuation, the psyche saying, not yet. A fear that committing fully would be dishonest, premature, or destructive to something vulnerable inside you. In Jungian language, the ego is not yet ready to marry the future self. The emotional tone matters. You described it as a nightmare that tells us that it is not desire, it is fear. Fear of loss, fear of responsibility, fear of irreversible commitment, fear that life will demand something before you are ready. Nightmares often arise when conscious life is moving quickly, the psyche feels rushed, or something sacred feels threatened by timing or pressure. A deeper Jungian synthesis, and bear with me, I'm doing some reading here, but I think it's cool, it's a dream analysis. The dream is not about rejection or love or partnership. It is about the fear of binding yourself to a future self. The fear of something essential in you must be protected first. A deep instinct that says, if I commit now, something fragile inside me may not survive. This is a protective dream, even though it feels brutal. Jung would say, the psyche sometimes destroys symbol and dreams to prevent premature individuation. Why this may be appearing now. Without projecting specifics, this type of dream often emerges when someone is standing at a threshold, identity, responsibility, public role, long-term commitment, carrying a powerful inner vision that feels too vulnerable to expose, wrestling with timing. Am I becoming too fast? One final reframe. The fetus did not die because it was unworthy. It died because the conditions were not yet right. In Jungian terms, what it truly means to be born will return, stronger, later, and in a form that can survive consciousness. Interesting. So, saying on the psyche is on the verge of a new direction in life or a new identity, and the ego is not yet ready to have that born into the world. A fear that committing fully would be dishonest, premature, or destructive to something vulnerable inside of you. It's interesting. It's kind of interesting that this kind of plays on the lines of me talking about taking the stage as well in life, and taking the stage and doing this and kind of catapulting myself into this against some of my anxieties and some of my fears so that I'm out there in the world and there's no going back, because this feeling inside of me of wanting to come and do a show and talk about these things and share some of what I think happens in the world and some of my ideas and my visions for the future, that has been pent up inside of me for a long time, and I've kind of bursted through the barrier and jumped the hurdles that I'm on the stage now, I'm doing the thing, but I don't want to collapse and break and not be able to sustain that in an unhealthy manner. So it's slowing down a little bit. It's making sure my sleep is stabilized. It's making sure I'm doing the right things. I'm healthy so I don't break and my psyche breaks and my ego collapses and ending up in a negative rock bottom again. So it's kind of interesting. It's a little bit of an interesting dream analysis. But some of the immediate trade-offs of the medication obviously are you feel like garbage. You can literally feel like garbage, and you can feel that you have no energy, you have no spark for life, you have no lust for life, there's no passion, there's no enthusiasm. It's kind of like it can drain your hope, and it can steal away that life force in you sometimes, taking these medications. So it's being cognizant of the trade-off. It's being aware that this is how you may feel taking the medication, and what is best for you. But usually what is best for you is going to be top down from the doctor, top down from the parents, top down from the people of power in your life. And it's hard for you to decide for yourself when you have these pressures of everyone around you. And another example, I'll always come back to Kanye, because I love Kanye, and I love that he is such a public figure, and him being such a public figure with his mental health issues in life and some of the things he's done has given me an abundance of information and insight into the same things that I deal with, having the same diagnosis and same sort of problems, you could say. But I was getting to something there, and I kind of lost it. Maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah, so like the trade-off, what's interesting about Kanye is he became so successful, he became so powerful, with so much wealth, with so much influence, that when you become the top of the hierarchy, when you become the person who has the power, the influence, the money, and you go into these states of elevated being and passion and charisma, all the things I listed, but there's no one around you that has any more power over you, or that has any more knowledge over you, for lack of better words. So when you are a figure like Kanye, and you get to that point, that status, that elite level, and you are being successful, you're being productive, you have all the accolades, you have all the achievements, you have the youth, you have the people behind you, for a doctor to come in that is probably a doctor that at that point you've already selected to go with the way you want to live your life, or to go with the narratives that you want in your life. And those around you as well are also in that same structure. So it's hard to then get across maybe a message, or to bring down some of these elevated, godlike, unstoppable like feelings that have arisen within you. So understanding that from the Kanye perspective, I've taken that into my own world to be able to defend my narrative, and to defend my feelings and my passions and my beliefs about the system and about what goes on. Because even though I'm not the influential person or the top powerful person in my inner circles, or within my family, or with my doctor, or any of that, I'm not the top of the charts person. I'm not the top of the hierarchy. But seeing how Kanye's life has been dealt with it, I've been able to build my castle fortress to be able to withstand the siege of the doctor, or of the family members, or of the friends that have their narrative and have their message that are being drilled at me to, and it comes from love. It comes from instincts that you want to protect your child, you want the best for them, you want them healthy. But sometimes I think that overrides some of the things they are doing, and some of the things that they say and act, that they make the person who is going through a potential mental health episode, it like is very isolating. It's very daunting. It can be a lot. So using Kanye and learning from Kanye, I've been able to build kind of my own structure of how to deal with those closest to me, and deal with a doctor, and deal with the system. So that's the kind of message I want to bring to other people, and help people understand that this is kind of what they're up against, and that this is how you break free for yourself. This is how you liberate yourself from the constraints of the system, the constraints that have been built in to put you in a box and keep you down, essentially, or keep you in the past, or in these negative thought loops. I want to be able to bring information to help people wield the sword and fight the battle for themselves, essentially, is part of the mission in doing this. But with medication, there's such an emotional flattening. There's such an emotional blunting when you take some of these antipsychotics and different medications that nobody would want to take them. When you learn and understand truly that you take a medication and, oh, you don't want to do any of your interests anymore. You don't want to listen to music anymore. You don't want to be around family anymore. You don't want to have sex anymore. You don't want to have meaningful interactions with friends and those closest to you. And your life and the emotions and the feelings and the joy and the passion and the love and the lust for life, all of this is blunted so much, almost to a point that you don't even know it's happened. You've become a hollowed out version, a docile zombie, fluoride-ridden zombie-like version of yourself that you aren't even aware that this is happening to you, and it's due to the constraints of the medication, the mental, chemical, castrating constraints of some of these medications. So with me learning that and discovering that this is what happens, it's very hard for me to go back to these medications. It's very hard for me to be willing to go back and take them in times that I need them. And I look at them as, like, you could say a crutch, for example. It's not a wheelchair that you have, you say you're not paralyzed in a wheelchair forever, that the medication can be a crutch. Like, for example, the antipsychotic olanzapine to help me sleep is a crutch in a time of need to stabilize sleeping, and then get off the crutch. And then I no longer want to be stuck in that chemically binded, castrated version of myself. So then I proceed to get off and not use the crutch and get back running and being myself as soon as possible is always my approach. And that's my approach to all medications. But you have to look at it long term. Like, for me, in saying that, you might hear that and go, okay, so it's get off medication quickly and as fast as possible, get off all medication. And it's like, no, not in its entirety. There is a genuine need that you need to be on some sort of medication if you are unable to be healthy and stable in this world without it. And I am pretty youthful. I'm 25. And I think I'm very impulsive still. I am a testosterone-filled youth that has this passion and charisma and this vigor for a lot of things. So with that in mind, if I completely stop all medications, this demon fox within me, Kurama, sometimes bursts through, and I'm unable to control it and stop it. So it may take longer, it may take a decade, it may take years longer in my life for me to be able to try to wean off of it and lower the dosages of the medication that I'm on to then be fully present in the world and be a fully functioning person without any of the constraints of the medication that I take. So, take a sip of water. I didn't even know if I was going to plan on doing a show today or not. And honestly, I said this to my mom last night. I said, so I did the show yesterday, and I said, it's harder to do the show when I'm taking this antipsychotic medication because my brain is not working or it's not as fast, and it brings in more anxiety. It brings in a more grounding understanding of the world. But insofar doing the show today, I've found it's been good because my thought process is a little better. It's a little clearer, and it's a little more structured. I would say it's a little more seamless in one idea to the next, and making sure that it all paints a understandable, comprehensive picture, I would say. So when you spend so many years trying to reclaim who you are, and you understand some of these narratives, you understand some of these hardships in life, and trying to reclaim a version of you, a new version of you, some of your interests, passions, joys in the world, and you get to a point that you're back on stable ground and you're back living in this world as someone who enjoys life again, enjoys being around people, enjoys family, whatever it is. and then to have to go back to taking another medication or being reliant on an antipsychotic to help you sleep, it's hard to swallow something that can dampen that version of you. It can be hard to then commit and be willing to take something that may dampen that version of you. So, because it's like you fought the hard, long battle. You fought the war of nutrition. You got out of it, and attrition, war of attrition. I think it's nutrition. War of attrition. War of nutrition. I think it's attrition. The war of nutrition. So you fought the war of nutrition, and you finally got to a place in your life that you're you again. You are back being you. Those around you are like, hey, Eric's back. He's back being himself. He's back doing his hobbies, doing the things he likes, expressive, lively, love, passion. He's back being himself. To then be at a point that you are looking down the barrel of taking a new medication, or looking down the barrel of having to take medication again to maybe stabilize you. It's like, do I want to go back to something that may dampen me? Do I want to go back to something that may castrate me and chain me back to a version that isn't who I want to be and isn't productive in this world, and a version of myself that I don't enjoy? So it's hard to conceptualize that and deal with that problem on its own. So it's looking at the trade-offs, it's understanding the trade-offs, and it's building a blueprint to get you to where you need to be, and then figuring out stability, sleeping, making sure you're not in hospital, making sure you don't commit suicide, or you're not depressed or anxious or any of whatever the disorder, whatever the issue is, getting that stable first, and then figuring out what the next path, what the next step is into getting you to the most optimal version of yourself that you can express yourself and be in this world. And I think oftentimes the medication is presented as neutral. It's presented as it's a neutral thing. You just take them and then your life is just kind of better. It's not presented that there are a lot of severe trade-offs. There are a lot of negative things that can come of taking the medication. Like I said, this lack of joy for life, or this lack of compassion or emotional level of depth with family members or partner and your hobbies. So there are severe, significant trade-offs that can come with the medication. But oftentimes when the medication is presented, it's only presented that it'll be the benefits, that your life will be better, you'll be happier, you'll be less depressed with these antidepressants. It's not the full picture, it's not the full spectrum of what can happen, but I often found that I would go and I'd get the new medication or whatever it is, and then you go online and you start doing the research and you start looking at other people's problems with the medication. And then that's when you start freaking yourself out and getting scared, because then comes the laundry list of all the negative symptoms, all the negative side effects, all the problems that other people have had. And you have this accumulation of negativity that is now tied with the medication that you were presented as only going to benefit your life. But there is truly the other side of the coin that I think people need to look at and pay more attention to, and truly decide what's best for them. And understanding the full spectrum of the picture will help them pick and choose and decide what is best for them in living out their life, and how they want to live their life, and the way their direction of their life is going to go. But I also have so I guess those are some of my points for talking today. I didn't want it to, I don't think it'll be too long of an episode today. I just kind of wanted to talk about the last 4 or 5 days of taking olanzapine again. I promised, and I said to myself that I would never take an antipsychotic medication ever again in my life. But I guess wiser heads prevailed in this last week or so to take the medication. And even, I think in this show today, it feels a lot more grounded It feels the speech, the patterns, the way I'm presenting the ideas feel a lot more grounded and more thought out compared to, I'd say, the last couple episodes, in more just enthusiasm and these types of things. Another interesting thing in these elevated states of mania and elevated states is that whatever I'm interacting with in the world, whatever I'm consuming in the world, say X, Twitter, or Instagram Reels, or if I'm reading books, or those I'm around, the group of people I'm around, it just gets amplified to a degree far beyond what it normally would be. So in consuming this information or the world news or whatever it is, it then seeps into me, and then I portray it back to the world. So whatever I've been consuming over the last little while would have then come out in a very strong narrative in me. And there are some episodes in the last little while that I'm saying stuff and I'm doing stuff that may seem out of character to people, or maybe a little further down the line I'll go and be like, oh yeah, like that doesn't really make sense for who I am. But it is because of what I was consuming at that time, of a more vulnerable state that I was in. That's what then protrudes out of me and seeps out into the world of my speech and my ideas and my thoughts. So that's kind of interesting. It's like a pull and a push of ideas and consumption and then production. And there's almost no friction. There's no filter. You're consuming and then you're producing, and it's very tainted by whatever you're consuming at the time. So I think that's an interesting part of the mania when it's going on. But I'm going to show something here, and kind of a plan of what I've got planned over, I guess you could say this could be like a lifelong plan, because the more information I have, the more knowledge I have, the more experience, the more I am exposed to the system, I'll have more to come and talk about and share my ideas and look at some of the gaps and the holes in the system that I see. So essentially, I'm on a quest to consume knowledge, to consume information, to consume the world of psychiatry, to consume the mental health system, so then I can see it for its entirety and look at it, and then look at the weak points, look at places to attack, look at holes and gaps and areas that need improvement, and I will bring that to the show and present those. But I need information coming my way to then be able to do that. And I have a good basis for that already, with having 7 years of being in the mental health situation, and since being diagnosed when I was 18. So I do have an accumulation of this already, but I want to show what the next step is that I will begin going through. So bear with me for a second here as I get it out. And this may be a little funny this may be funny to show, but you know, we're shameless. We're gonna be shameless on this show. We're gonna be shameless. We're gonna be shameless. Boom. Boom. What is that? That is the mental health records that I have got from the hospital. That is all of them. Actually, that is not all of them. This is about half. The other half I have digitally, because some point in the last 7 years, the hospital went digital with everything. So I have another half of information digital that I will be going through, essentially. So maybe I can do this as part of the show. Maybe as like a segment at the end of the show, I can rifle through a couple pages and see what's going on. But it's with this, I will be able to get a better understanding of the system, I'll be able to get a better understanding of how they look at people in times of distress and in times of different mental health situations. I'll be able to see how some of the nurses, how some of the doctors think, and kind of everything that goes on. I don't even know entirely what I'm going to get out of going through all this information. I think it's fascinating to learn about yourself, to learn about some of the things that happen to you in different states of mania and psychosis, and these very severe, impactful things that happened in your life. And not only that, there's parts of the episodes that happened that I was essentially blacked out for weeks at a time. In 2023, in PICU, there was a 2-week period that I don't remember anything at all. So I hope to find a better understanding of what happened in that time, you could say, because it's like blacking out drunk, and you wake up the next day and you hear the stories and people telling you, "Hey, do you remember you did this last night?" Or it's these things that you pardon me. Make sure there's nothing going on there. But it's you wake up the next day and it's people telling you, "Oh, do you remember this happened? Do you remember that?" And you're like, "No." And it's kind of frightening. It's kind of scary to wake up the next day and not know anything that happened the night prior. And it's the same with 2 weeks of being in hospital. It's kind of frightening, but I hope to find some interesting stuff. And a lot of this is just going to be boring medical nonsense, but I think it'll be interesting at the same time. Like this, for example, says, in response to your request for information on May 23rd, 2025, please find enclosed complete records inclusive of electronic and paper documentation for visits listed below. So here is the paper records for inpatient in February, inpatient in December 2023, February 2024, October 2023, August 2020. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of information for me to go through, and I don't assume I'll do it on the show, because that'll just be boring of me like reading papers and like this, for example, reading blood charts and blood levels and endocrinology and tumor markers. Like, yeah, that's gonna be super exciting to do a show on. Diagnostic cardiology, but I'll have to siphon through and find the fun stuff. Is kind of okay. Patient identification. Eric Guest is a 23-year-old male who lives with both of his parents in blank. He is a registered patient with an established diagnosis of blank. Doesn't say blank, but he was admitted initially on a Form 1 due to a relapse of a hypomanic episode, with concerns of progressing to a manic episode. He was then subsequently placed on a Form 3. He required PICU involvement and required eventual de-escalation until he would be transferred to a regular bed. Yeah, so it's funny. Admitted on October 6, 2023. Oh, this is interesting. So see, here I found something interesting already. I didn't think I was going to actually read them. Eric was admitted on October 6, 2023 after making an urgent outpatient appointment with blank, Dr. Blank, because of his own concerns as well as concerns shared by his mother/girlfriend that he has entered a manic state. He had reported decreased sleep, increase in nighttime activity, increased irritability, short-temperedness, as well as mentions of a spiritual awakening and an exploration of his identity. On admission, Eric did appear to Dr. Blank to be different from his previous presentations. He was elated, but able to regulate. He had also self-reported that he had stopped being adherent to his medications. Throughout his interview with Dr. Blank, he continued to have a level of tangentiality. What is that word? Tangentiality to his thoughts, making mention of Japanese philosophy, purple bands, and other preoccupations with religion, culture, philosophy. Overall, Dr. Blank found that there was an elevated sense of self, an increased fear, a mild degree of flight of ideas, and loosening associations. Eric then walked himself with security to the emergency department and was placed on a form. He continued to be resistant to recommencing his home medications. He was commenced on Zopiclone at bedtime, as well as prior dose of lithium. He received basic blood work. Yeah, so when it says I was like religious, cultural, philosophy, Japanese culture, and like purple bands, I was talking about like these purple bands that you're forced to wear when you're identified in hospital as a dangerous person. They put a question mark on your door, and that deems you as a dangerous person. So for then the rest of eternity, when you enter a hospital, you are then asked if you want to wear a purple band, or if you are then admitted into a hospital again, you are then forced to wear a purple band, and you get the question mark on the door again. So I was talking about this in that interview or appointment. So I'll be going through some of that to get a better understanding of the system, because I'm coming for you, okay? Things are changing around here. And it can be daunting or frightening to share very personal things such as that. And I will obviously pick and choose things I share and things I don't share. But I think we need shamelessness. I think we need vulnerability. I think we need authenticity. I think we need raw, authentic messages and stories to help out the kin of mental health, of mental illness. Because without that, I don't think we're going to get any true progress in it. I think we've been at a stagnant place and position for a long time in mental health and psychiatry. And it's just this, and the stigma. Do you know one in how many people commit suicide? Did you know 70% of men commit suicide? And it's just all the statistics, all the numbers, all the videos, the movies, the TV shows of crazy people and people dealing with mental health and mental illnesses. But the actual narrative, the actual message, and the actual blueprint to building something better and building a better future, I don't really see that. I don't really see that being built and that being talked about. So that is my mission, essentially, is build the blueprint, look at the old blueprint, look at the old system, look at the old castle, pick and choose, and look at the weak points and learn where mistakes are being made, where things could be better, and learn the system in its entirety. Learn it inside and out, essentially, is what I'm doing. And I get to do that because I'm like a secret agent. I'm like a secret agent because I've been in the system and I understand it from the inside. I'm not just someone like a doctor who maybe has never dealt with being inside the walls of the system, or being locked in a room, or being restrained to a bed, or being tackled by security guards, or maybe not dealt with some of these situations. But I have, so I understand the inside, and I want to understand the outside in its entirety as well. So I'm a double agent, you could say. But that's going to be that segment of the show. I'm going to see Avatar today. Let's go. Avatar, The Way of the Ash People. Is that what it's called? I don't know what it's called. Avatar. Let's pull up Reddit. Let's go on Reddit and browse around. Look at that. Look at that. Just as I say it. Boom. Avatar. Navi. You're the Navi. You're like a child. You're like a child. You're loud. Oh, I shared this little thing on one of the Reddits. So it's a psych ward hack essentially, and the hack is you get your menu, and I don't know if this applies to all psychiatric facilities or not, but when you fill your menu for the morning, you can do stuff like this, which is you add a little plus at the bottom, and you can write like cheese pizza or pepperoni pizza, or there's usually like a secret menu that hospitals have, and you have to ask the nurses for it, and then you can add stuff to the meals. So I'd eat cheese pizza every day. That was cheese pizza and chocolate milk, baby. The diet of a champion. Diet of a champion. Let's see what's going on with my psychosis, people. Whoa. That's cool. They're so talented. They're so talented as artists, as like creative people. People with psychosis and like the mental health issues are so talented and creative. It's the favorite artists, the favorite type of art I ever come across is in these Reddit threads. Always, always, always in these threads. Bipolar. Bipolar. Bipolar with the check. Bipolar. I swear I had something I was going to do. I was gonna play some Risk at the end of this episode, but I don't think I will. I don't have time. I have to go to my group. Well, I don't have to. It's optional, but go and hang out with my friends. Anti-psychiatry. Let's hop in anti-psychiatry and see what they're spitting. Don't be surprised if lobotomies and asylums return. ECT already has and asylums partly. Don't be surprised if the lobotomy returns. The psychs will of course rebrand it. Will have a scientific sounding name obscuring its horror, something like precision targeted neural homeostatic attenuation surgery. It will correct so-called developmental maladaptive neural circuitry that leads to obsessiveness, rumination, psychotic prosperity, emotional instability, executive function difficulties. Unlike the historic lobotomy, it will be a much more advanced procedure, making use of enormous scientific advanced psychiatry has made. And of course, in a certain circumstance, then the doctor deems it absolutely necessary. Sometimes it will be done non-consensually for the patient's benefit, or it will be done consensually because the patient has spent years on section or could order and lost all will to live, vesting his last hopes in this. If you want to know what it will be like, watch the film Get Out. It's coming. Mark my words. A little fear mongering there. I do have some fears that I don't know if it's like paranoia or that, but with my plan and like doing this show and going against the common narratives of psychiatry, some of them and not all of them, but some of the things I think could be better, depending on how well it goes or depending on what kind of influence I'll have, it scares me to potentially be back in the hands of the system if, say, something happens that I need to go to like a psych ward, because then, and it comes from messages like what you've seen with Kanye West from his personal trainer Harley Pasternak, who was like an MK Ultra trained like handler of like famous people, but him saying like, oh, we'll take you to the psych ward and you'll never be the same, or you'll never return. So it's like, it's stuff like that if you go against the grain or you go against the narrative, to have the potential to go into a system and be like not lobotomized but chemically castrated to a sense. And they can do this in a sense through injections now. A lot of people get their medications injected, so it's injected through needle, obviously, and that medication is then... My mom's vacuuming. She's vacuuming upstairs. I'm trying to do a show, but it's, so you get the injection of the medication that can last for months at a time. So if, say, you get taken into a hospital against your will, and you're so say you get taken into a hospital against your will, and you're then injected with medications, that will leave you in that state for however long the injections last. And in that state, you're not even aware of how you are, like, you're being presented to the world. Your thoughts and ideas, everything is changed and been diluted and suppressed and constrained. So then you are a hollowed out version that you don't even know what you look like. I can't focus. I can't even talk with that going on. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. That's crazy. That's hilarious. But yeah, so injections, chemical castrations, lobotomies. Yeah, it's scary stuff. But you know, you gotta say fuck it, we ball. Let's go to war, is what we say around here. Go to war, kid. Go to war, kid, is what they say. That's what the voices say. The voices say go to war. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the show because we got a vacuum cleaner going on. It's cutting out the focus. But anyways, Avatar tonight. Let's go. Gonna go watch that. Enjoy that. See what the Maktora, see what Jake Sully's up to in the Na'vi. And yeah, that's the episode. We talk about olanzapine, talked about some of the nightmares I've been having, and we've talked about some of the control mechanisms that come into play when it comes to psychiatry and mental health and this sort of thing. So I hope some of these stories, some of these messages can relate to people. I hope they hit the right audiences and connect with people. I'm trying to find common ground and find people that understand this and feel this way. That has been my mission for a long time. I've felt like a loner. I have felt like I've been lost in the woods for the last 7 years without people who really understand my message or understand my vision. And that has led me to this, which is setting up the camera, setting up the studio, and broadcasting the message, broadcasting the signal out there, beaming it out to the world for then it to be picked up by anyone who can dial into that frequency and then join me on my mission and what I envision. And we can help each other, and we can talk to each other, and we can help each other with a better understanding of what goes on with ourselves and with ourselves interacting to the world. So that's what we're doing here. That's what Be My Guest is all about. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Please leave a subscription, leave a like, a comment. Let me know what you think. Any critique, any positive feedback, anything you want me to discuss, any topics. I'm always here to listen and improve the show in any way I can. Thank you for watching. It's much appreciated, and I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you on Monday. Bye, guys.